What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new TV review, and today we're discussing episode 1 of the new HBO miniseries by the name of The White Lotus. Episode 1, which was titled Arrivals, and is actually premiering tonight on HBO. Got a chance to check it out early, and I'm really excited to let you all know what I thought about episode 1, and if you all should give it a watch, all in this spoiler-free review. Before we break it all down, do me a favor and check me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing, and while you all are at it, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed my review of episode 1 of The White Lotus, well, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Also share the video. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about The White Lotus. Have you heard of the show? Were you excited for it? If you've seen episode 1, what'd you think about it? The comedy, the drama, the tension, the characters. Will you be back to watch the rest of this show? Do you want me to cover it on a weekly basis? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. So if you never heard of the show, what is it all about? Let me fill you all in. The White Lotus is created and written and directed by Mike White and consists of 6 episodes in this miniseries. And The White Lotus focuses on the lives of the staff and the guests at a tropical resort over a course of a week. Alright, with that being out of the way, let's get into my thoughts of this first episode of The White Lotus. So let's talk a little bit about the creator of this show, who wrote every episode, directed every episode, came up with the show, Mike White. I'm going to put his picture on the screen now. You guys might recognize him. He's been in some movies. He's written a lot of things, directed a lot of things, but I mostly know him for 2003. He's one of my favorite comedies in the early 2000s. That is The School of Rock. He had a small role. He was the actual real teacher in Jack Black's friend, but he also wrote that film. And if you look at his filmography, he has some really interesting titles under his name. More recently, the Emoji Movie, which we won't talk about in this review. But just speaking of Mike White's direction and his writing in this first episode, I thought it was fantastic. There is this sense of tension amongst this cast and this crew in regards to the guests as well as the crew that works for this tropical, beautiful resort, which is another thing I want to point out. This resort is actually beautiful. Would love to go there. But the way Mike is able, this show is labeled as a satire, kind of dark comedy, and he does a great job of blending that line of not being over the top funny, but it's more situational comedy, and it's just day-to-day life comedy. It's not like everyone's cracking a joke. It's just like the situation at hand makes it really funny. So I love the way he handles the comedy in this first episode. But the thing that really impressed me was this underbelly of the tension amongst the guests that are there, the crew that is manning this resort. I love the way he creates tension in this first episode. And based on this first episode, I'm really excited to see what he has for the rest of the show, because again, he did a really good job of establishing who these people are. Very privileged, very toxic. They have, secrets, and there's some mystery going on with the show. So I was very impressed by the director and writer of the show and creator of the show, Mike White. So I'm really excited to see what he does in the coming episodes. But let's talk about this crew. When I first saw the trailer, I'm like, wait, they're in it? They're in it? Oh, you got me signed up, because if you all follow me and you've been a part of this community for a while, HBO is like the Steph Curry of miniseries, right? They never miss when it becomes, when it gets into the Mayor of Easttown, The Undoing, and the Lovecraft countries of the world. I love what they have to offer, so I was already going to check it out regardless. But when I saw the cast, I was just like, oh yeah, let's see what this is all about. So the way I want to kind of break down the characters, I'm going to go from my most interested characters to my least favorite interested characters. So starting off with the newlywed couple, we have Shane and Rachel Patton, played by Alexandra Daddario as Rachel, and you have Jake Lacy as Shane. Now, they are a newlywed couple going to this resort, trying to have their honeymoon. And right off the bat, let's talk about Shane for a second, who we all know this type of person, right? He is a trust fund baby. His parents take care of everything. He's given everything. He kind of gets what he wants, and he thinks he's a good guy, but he's really an a-hole, and especially in this first episode. And then you partner that with Rachel, who, to me, Rachel seems to be the most level-headed person of the entire crew so far, but you can kind of see that she has some issues in regards to maybe a decision she made marrying Shane a little bit too early, maybe looking more about what's in his pocket versus what's in his heart. So it's really kind of interesting to see this dynamic and see how things kind of play out with this newly couple, because you can tell that Rachel isn't a fan of him just being hand in everything and the way he treats some of the people involved in this first episode. So I'm really interested to see where this newlywed couple ends up by the end of the show. But let's move on to another family that I found to be very intriguing, and that is the Moss Bitcher family, led by Connie Britton. You have the husband Mark, played by Steven Zinn. You have their son Quinn, also their daughter Olivia, who brought her friend around, Paula. And Olivia is played by Sydney Sweeney, who I'm a big fan of from Euphoria. This family is very toxic. Now, first and foremost, you have Connie Britton, who I'm a big fan of, American Horror, Friday Night Lights. She's an incredible actress. She is the mother. She's a CEO of a company. And first off the bat, her and her husband have this dynamic where she's the breadwinner, right? So there's a little bit of tension between the husband and wife. But we have Mark, who is played by Steve Zinn, who's a great actor in his own right. He is going through some medical issues. And you could tell that this family trip is was sparked by him having some medical issues. And I just love the dynamic between the husband and wife, where she's just kind of like, you know, it is what it is type of situation, but also, like I said, there's some tension going on between the husband and wife, and there's some medical stuff going on with you know, Steven Zinn's character Mark, and he's trying to interact with his son and trying to get a little bit more close to his son, because based on his medical, you know, issues, let's just say his days may be numbered. But I just like this family dynamic. The daughter Olivia, Sydney, and her friend Paula, they're very kind of about themselves. They're younger generation, kind of Gen Z characters who judge everyone, very judgmental, very pretty girls, but they're very, you know, kind of talkative and chatter and gossip, and they make one of our characters feel a little bit bad about themselves. So I like what this family has to offer, and I'm really excited to see, number one, what happens with Mark, what also happens with, you know, the wife, and kind of where she's at in her career, and obviously their kids. So I'm really liking that family dynamic. But moving on to another kind of group of people that I'm really intrigued with, and I think most of the comedy came from these characters for me in the first episode, and that's the crew manning this resort, led by Armand, who is he's the manager of the resort, and he's just trying to keep everything going afloat, right? We've all been in that position. I'm an entrepreneur, so we all have we work for clients or we work for customers, and it's just seeing the customer service that's going on in this show, right? It's just like the customer's always right. You always got to put a smile on and say, yeah, you're right, or yeah, we can accommodate you in this type of situation. So I love the kind of office space, kind of the office situation where we're watching these people catering to these privileged people that are at the resort. So I love the crew. And then my least favorite storyline and character so far is not to do with the actors, but I'm just not as intrigued with their story, and that is Jennifer Coolidge as Tanya and Natasha Roswell as Belinda. Now, we all know Jennifer as the original MILF from American Pie, Stifler's mom, but she plays this character who's going through some emotional things. She comes across Belinda, who's a masseuse, and she helps her out, and they kind of have this friendship that kind of, well, I say more one-sided friendship in this first episode, but their story was the least interesting for me thus far. But nonetheless, even with that least interesting story plot, I'm still very intrigued with all these characters. And the thing that I really like about this show, and I love about HBO shows and their miniseries, they always have that hook, right? It's typically at the end of the episode, but in this case, it's at the beginning of the episode, where I'm not going to get into details, but there is, and this isn't really a spoiler, this is literally the first scene in the episode. We learn that we get like a flashback. So we see like a week ahead, and we go back in time to see what happened in this week when they're on their vacation. But we find out that someone was, I believe they said, was murdered on this vacation, or killed, or had something happen to him. So that's kind of like, ooh, who is in that box? That really kind of puts the mystery aspect to the show. So it's almost kind of like a Clue, you know, Knives Out type of situation, where it's not like a murder mystery by any sorts, but you're just watching these characters. They're all privileged, they're all toxic, they all have their tension. They have some funny moments, they have some judgmental moments. So it's just one of those shows where you're just like, this is a group of characters that are very intriguing, all very different. They all have a smile on their face, but they have something going on inside them. So that's really the biggest thing that really intrigued me, on top of who is that person that ended up murdered at the beginning of the show. So really, really intriguing stuff. So I really like the writing, the comedy, the drama, the tension. The characters are really well written, and I'm really excited to see what the rest of the show has to offer. So I'll be watching it for the next 5 weeks. But the big question for you all, kind of the call to action, what did you think about the first episode, and do you want me to cover this on a weekly basis? Because I would love to. I'm going to watch this show regardless, but I would love to have a conversation with you all. So depending on the engagement on this video, I'll be back to cover this every week if you guys want me to do so. But let me know in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up, share the video. Let's have some great dialogue around this first episode, and let's see where this show is headed. So that's my thoughts on the first episode. Again, if you want me to be back, the rest of the episodes will be more more of a spoiler discussion, but let's see how this video does. But nonetheless, if you stuck around to the end of the video, I appreciate you all. Again, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. With this being a Sunday night show, I have a lot of stuff ahead for you all this week, so keep an eye out for my videos coming this week. Hope you all are having a great day. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you on the next video.